Hey guys, it's Two Review Games or Adam, and welcome back to another Fortnite video. Today I got a video for all of you OG guys out there because today I'll be going over 8 things that new players will really never understand. Only the OG guys out there will remember the good old days of Fortnite when certain weapons or certain strategies were so OP, and honestly, it made the game so much fun and so addicting. But unfortunately now, so much has changed and all of the new players will really never understand these 8 things. So somewhere in today's video, I have a bunch of PSN and Xbox cards hidden, so keep an eye out while you're watching the video. If you find them first, go ahead, redeem those codes, and buy yourself some V-Bucks. If you do not find it first, don't worry, I'm doing a massive 30,000 people giveaway over the month of July. To enter, all you have to do is drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me guys know right now in the comments below what platform do you play Fortnite on. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the first thing that new players will never understand. So the first thing that really stood out to me when thinking about things that new players might not really understand is fall damage. So obviously today in Fortnite, fall damage is still a thing, right? We still have these really weird moments where we fall from like little to no height and we take like 1 billion fall damage, which is really annoying, but it's not so bad anymore. And for those of you who played Fortnite back, especially during season 1 and 2, fall damage was the biggest troll ever. So for all of you new Fortnite players, you guys are actually kind of lucky that you didn't really have to experience this crazy rage fest that was fall damage. So again, it still is in the game today, but it's just not as random and as wonky and as crazy as it once was. And of course, while I'm talking about all of this, I will have some crazy fall damage deaths from back in the day, so for those of you who are new can see it. For those of you who play back then, you guys can relive the horror of what was fall damage. Now, the one thing that I remember the most from back then with fall damage is just the inconsistency and the randomness of it, because there'd be so many times where you jump off a massive cliff or you fall from a massive height and you think, there's no way I'm surviving this, I'm completely dead, and you take like 20 fall damage, and then you'll fall off like a small little cliff, a small drop, and you take massive fall damage or die. Like, it was so random and it just so wonky and so broken, and it was so incredibly infuriating. Now, I don't remember when they fixed it. I think it was season 3 maybe, where they went in and actually finally fixed this. But for the most part, at the start of Fortnite, fall damage was absolutely insane. And next up, I want to go over the different types of traps we had back in Fortnite. And I don't really want to go over that we had different traps. Traps back then were a lot more complicated. People didn't use them as much as they do now because, of course, now in Fortnite we have one trap, which is a spike trap, and that trap can go anywhere you want, but back in the day, that really wasn't the case. Now, I don't want to say that traps back then weren't used at all, because they definitely were, but I feel like traps were more tedious, more annoying, and were kind of complicated just because when you have, you know, a trap for the ceiling, a trap for the wall, and a trap for a floor, you know, if you wanted to use one of those traps and have that on the ceiling and you didn't have a ceiling trap, you were screwed, right? Or if you wanted to use something on the floor and you didn't have a floor trap, you couldn't use it. So in that case, it was annoying, and of course you had more loot because you had 3 different types of traps. So right now, it's a lot easier, it's a lot more straightforward. So for those of you who are new Fortnite players, you guys will never really understand having all these traps in the game that really didn't belong there, it didn't need to be there, but now it is a lot better. So next up, here in the number 6 spot, I gotta go over the Battle Pass struggle. And this is something I mentioned before, but when talking about things that players now, or new players, will never understand, it is the Battle Pass struggle from Season 2. So for those of you who are playing now, Fortnite Battle Pass isn't all that hard to get through, right? You have all of the weekly challenges to use, you have the daily challenges, you have ranking up. There are so many ways to unlock every single tier, no problem. But back in Season 2, when the Battle Pass was first added to Fortnite, things were a lot different. So just imagine for a second having to go through the entire Battle Pass from only ranking up and the daily challenges. Back in Season 2, that was exactly what you had to do. Now, I know there were only 70 tiers, but still, that was such a grind fest. If you did not complete like every single daily challenge of the season, there was like no way you would unlock that tier 70. And let's be honest, guys, today in Fortnite, you don't even have to play the game that much. All you have to do is complete all of the weekly challenges. You'll complete some of the daily challenges along the way. You'll rank up along the way as well. And that's all you really have to do to unlock that tier 100 skin. But back then, of course, you didn't want to buy tiers. You legit had to play like every single day, rank up as much as you can, and you could not miss any of those daily challenges to unlock that tier 70 skin. And for all you new players, you guys will never understand the Season 2 Battle Pass grind. So I wanted to go over at least one weapon on today's list because so many guns have changed over time. And one thing that I think a lot of new players will never truly understand is how broken and messed up the scoped AR was at one point. Now, I'm not talking about the thermal AR, I am talking about the scoped AR because that has been in the game pretty much since day one. But back in Season 1 and even Season 2, the scoped AR was one of the worst guns in the game just because it was completely broken. As of today, the scoped AR is a really awesome gun. It's super accurate, it's great for getting headshots, and overall, it's a pretty awesome gun. But back in the day, especially Season 1, this thing wasn't all that good. It was considered one of the worst guns in the game. So why was the scoped AR so bad? There was one massive thing that made no sense with this gun, and that was actually the scope or the reticle. So right now we have the cross as the reticle on the scoped AR. Back then we had an arrow pointing up, right? And you would think when you aim at somebody, you want to aim at the top of the arrow, but that wasn't actually the case. You had to aim like below the arrow in some awkward spots, and because everyone was aiming at the top of that arrow, all of our shots would be missing, and the gun was so inaccurate, you'd be missing like all of your shots. So people really didn't use this gun all that much because people didn't really know how to aim with this thing. Now, of course, they made tons of changes to this gun, and now it is so much better. But back in Season 1 and even Season 2, it was considered one of the worst guns in Fortnite. And next up, in the number 4 spot, not only will new players never understand this, they will never get to experience lobbies upon lobbies of default skin players. Obviously, today in Fortnite, we have so many different skins in the game. We have all of the Battle Pass skins, we have all of the item shop skins, we have all of the free skins, these starter pack skins. There are so many ways to get skins in this game, and that means that the default skin is going to slowly but surely die. So for those of you who played back in Season 1 and 2 and 3, you guys will remember how the default skin absolutely dominated every single lobby. For all you new Fortnite players, I gotta say, I feel kind of bad for you guys because you never get to experience how good shotguns once were here in this game. I wouldn't say the shotguns are bad in Fortnite today, but they definitely aren't great, or they aren't what they once were. The pump shotgun today is absolutely horrible. Let's face it, guys. The semi-auto and the heavy are pretty good, but nothing like they once were. And throughout this video, guys, I've had a bunch of Season 1 and Season 2 gameplay in the background, and you might have noticed some absolutely insane shotgun shots, like insane damage, and of course, insane range, and doing like, 110 damage at range. Like, that's what shotguns were at one point. They were that crazy and that powerful, and unfortunately today, they just aren't what they once were, and they just aren't as fun as they once were. The sad thing is we'll probably never have the old shotguns back in Fortnite. Epic Games does not want to move that direction. They have been nerfing the hell out of shotguns. So for those of you who are new Fortnite players, I'm sorry, but you guys will never get to experience how lethal shotguns once were here in Fortnite. Coming in at the number 2 spot, one thing that new Fortnite players will never really understand is a game of Fortnite without crazy building. So for those of you who played back in the day, you guys know that then compared to now is so different in the way people play. Right now, if you jump into a game, people build like crazy, but back in season 1 and 2, that really wasn't the case. Throughout this entire video, I've been showing you guys a bunch of season 1 and season 2 gameplay in the background, and one thing that really jumps out at you if you actually watch it is people just don't build. They'll build ramps, they'll build a tower at an endgame, but they won't build to block shots or protect themselves, right? And that's weird. It's so strange seeing that in Fortnite because now it is the complete opposite. People go insane with the building, but only the OG Fortnite players will remember when building wasn't popular in Fortnite. Finishing our list off here in the #1 spot, one thing that new Fortnite players will never get to experience or will never understand is the original weapon set here in Fortnite. Today in Fortnite, we have so many different things. We have tons of new weapons. We have original weapons vaulted. It is completely different from that original OG weapon set. So all of the original weapons, it was the M16, the Burst, the Scar, the Scoped AR, the Bolt Action Sniper, the Semi-Auto Sniper, the SMG, TAC SMG, Revolver, Pistol, Pump Shotgun, Semi-Shotgun, RPG, and Launcher. At one point in time, guys, those were the only weapons in Fortnite, and those right there are the original weapons of Fortnite. So there we have it, guys. That is going to wrap up today's video. Again, if you're enjoying it, make sure to drop a like, subscribe for more Fortnite content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.